Anthony Richardson is once again your starting quarterback for the Indianapolis Colts. Welcome back to the Colts Unplugged Pod, episode 5. I'm your co-host, Profan Logan, here with my other co-host, Ati Logan. Man, what a freaking whirlwind of a week it's been to be a Colts fan. What were your initial rawest raw of the raw thoughts and reactions to hearing that AR is once again going to be our guy?
Yeah, it's really funny, Logan, because the way I found out, it wasn't through. And sorry, guys, if I sound sick. I have the flu, by the way. This is like my MJ flu game, except MJ flu pod, Addy flu pod.
This
I
man's
found out through
Addy
you,
flu pod right now.
or on God. I actually found out through you, Logan. Like, I woke up like with the flu. I wasn't working that day, like sick as fuck. And I opened my phone at like 11 a.m. And usually I'm up at like 6 a.m., 5 a.m. But I woke up at 11 and I just see this text on my phone, big and bright. AR is back, baby. And it's from you. And I was like, what? Like, what just happened? Like, I woke up sick as fuck, immediately went to go check Twitter, now X. And I was just like, fuck yeah. I'm so pumped. I'm so excited. I don't even care that I have the flu. If me getting the flu is what allowed AR to be the starter, fuck it. I love this shit. So like I was pumped up. We don't have to see Joe anymore. Logan, hopefully AR stays healthy, but we don't have to see Joe anymore. Thank you for your times. You can go back to your retirement home. You can go back to the bench and sit there like you do all the time. That was my reaction. Kicking it off to you, what was your reaction like? Because you texted me. I was pumped.
Speaking of not seeing Joe anymore, I swear I was waiting for the Sleepy Joe memes to start popping up. I swear, I knew if we saw him a couple more times, people were gonna start filing in with the Sleepy Joe memes. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, dude, I was really excited because I felt like the Colts finally got some sense underneath them, whether it have been Shane Steichen or Chris Ballard or Jim Irsay. I don't really care. The bottom line is they did the right thing for the future of the franchise, right? Like you can't draft a guy number 4 overall and only give him 9, maybe 10 starts, right? And make a decision on him. So obviously there's a lot to unpack here, and we'll kind of get into that. But yeah, first raw emotion, just so excited and thankful that we have a quarterback that's going to be exciting. Will he throw
Yep.
interceptions? Yes. Will he be inaccurate? Yes. But will he throw a 70-yard bomb? Maybe. Will he run for a 50-yard scamper? Maybe, so it's going to be exciting again to actually watch a guy who has just pure athletic ability, and his ceiling is much, much higher than a lot of NFL quarterbacks that we've seen over the last, 20, 30 years. So super excited for that for sure.
Yeah, no,
I'm
100%.
excited to see him for these last 7 games.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. Super, super, super pumped to finally have AR back. And remember, these 2 weeks isn't gonna change him. Obviously, hopefully he grew as a
Right.
leader in this 2 week time. We're still gonna see, like Logan mentioned, inaccuracy, overthrows, underthrows, but the ability, the big play ability is gonna be there. It's gonna be exciting football to finally Colts Nation watch your 22-year-old quarterback, number 4 overall pick from 2 years
Yep.
ago. Technically not a rookie, but kind of feels like a rookie actually playing a game. Now, my only concern with
Yeah.
this, Logan, and yes, there's concerns. I'm kind of sad that I have to say this. Best case scenario, the Colts were just like, this was an internal 2 week timeout, like for Anthony Richardson because of the head tap or whatever was going on, poor leadership, whatever it may have been. And they're like, okay, the 2 week insider scoop suspension's over. He's back in play. Also, maybe could have been with Joe Flacco. Worst case scenario, this is the complete, and it's kind of cool, but it's I think also worst case scenario, the fans with the free AR5, and on top of that, Jim Irsay seeing that season tickets renewal is actually tomorrow on November 15th, and they saw a lot of people
Yeah.
getting rid of their season tickets because they're like, what is this abysmal decision made by the franchise and that we've supported for X amount of years? That is what I fear may be the case. A little bit mixed of that, so I think Colts organization is still in like a whirlwind of what are we? What are we doing here? And I think the fans have right to speculate that. But I don't know about you, pro fan Logan. I don't know why I said that. I don't know about you, Logan. Get Chris Ballard out of here. I do not care. I do not
use
care that AR is
use
starting.
the government name.
Use the government name. Get Chris Ballard out of here. I'd like this changes nothing. AR starting changes nothing
Yeah.
about my feelings towards Chris Ballard anymore. Out of here. Get him out regardless.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. I'm glad we are finally aligned with that for sure. I think a lot of people are on the Fire Ballard train. So the first part of this that I wanted to dive into with you, I was curious, and I'll give you my thoughts too. So obviously Steichen took to the podium and explained his decision right recently to start AR for the rest of the season, but it was his opening statement that really stuck out to me, where he talked about specifically why AR was benched and what the benching was for and sort of what they were looking for. And it was, as we predicted, right, in previous episodes, it was his maturity, it was his leadership, and he mentioned very specific things like being the first guy in, last guy out, that type of stuff, going above and beyond to go out and say, "Hey guys, I am the leader of this team," right? And apparently there were some behaviors internally that we aren't privy to because we're not in the actual facility day in and day out. But that is what we predicted. So, kind of wanted your thoughts on hearing that from Steichen. How did that make you feel? And what do you think that could mean for AR moving forward? Do you think that's a good thing, that that's the reason probably why he was benched? A bad thing? What are your thoughts on that?
Honestly, yeah, I'm indifferent towards it because if you think about it, Logan, you're correct me if I'm wrong. You're 29.
Mm-hmm.
29, right? You're 29. I'm 26.
Yep.
Take us back. Take me back 4 years ago. Take you back 7 years ago. Like, I, I could not have been the CEO of a franchise, a quarterback of a franchise at 22 years old. Like,
No.
I was so
Yeah.
immature. So we're asking a lot of these guys to like come in, act mature at 21, 22, 23 years old. You're the center of the franchise, and I think it's okay. Obviously, you have to act at a certain degree and to a certain point, being the leader there, and the CEO of your franchise. But I was honestly kind of shocked because everything that came out of camp, everything that came out of the combine, everything that came out of interviews and stuff like that said AR is just a phenomenal guy. He's a phenomenal leader. He's going to do
Yeah.
everything to make sure his team wins, and you see that obviously. So maybe there was something internal that we're missing out on, and that's something that I think Steichen and company would keep in house rather than share. As he mentioned, I'd rather keep all these things in house. I think Jim Bob Cooter said that. As opposed to the media, because then they run with it and it creates some sort of narrative.
Yeah.
But yeah, if whether there is something going on or not, I think this was a really, really good learning experience for Anthony Richardson. And I have always been Anthony Richardson. I hated when we decided to start Joe Flacco, but I think this was so needed that it happened. Hopefully he learns from this. It's a big turning point in his career. Once again, issues are still going to prevail. They don't change over time in terms of on the field play and stuff like that. But hopefully he took some time. I know he met with some of the captains. I know Kenny Moore was saying that it was like him, DeForest Buckner, Michael
That's good.
Pittman,
Yeah.
Anthony Richardson, and they said Anthony Richardson was vulnerable. He shared, I have a kid. I don't remember if he's married or not. I know he has a long time significant other, but he's like,
Yeah.
I'm a father, like XYZ things. Like he opened up and he was vulnerable, and that's really good to see. Kenny Moore said today that they're in a really good spot. They've made a lot of progress over the last 2 weeks. Things have started to change, and
Mm.
I hope those words come to fruition and they change into action. But I'm happy. I'm happy.
Yeah. And it makes a lot of sense too when you look back on maybe why, if it was a Steichen decision, it makes a lot of sense on maybe why Steichen did make the decision to bench him temporarily, to allow him to come into more of a maturity and become more of a leader. Because look at the past three quarterbacks that Steichen has coached, right? I mean, you look at Jalen Hurts.
Yep.
He's the epitome of a leadership guy, right? He's going to get up in front of the podium and say the right thing every time. Almost so much so that it gets annoying sometimes because he says the right thing
It's like
always.
scriptures every time.
Yeah, scriptures every time. And then you got Justin Herbert, right? And he's right now, arguably, I'd say for a lot of people, I think so, a top 5 quarterback in the
100%.
NFL. On a 6-3 Chargers team led by Harbaugh there, and then before that, it was Philip Rivers. So those three guys that Steichen worked with very closely, they were very hard workers, right? And really big leadership guys and guys that were going to be the first in and the last out, lunch pail guys. And he talked about that, how those guys worked meticulously. Like their hard work was all they were about.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe, just maybe, like I mentioned a few episodes ago, Anthony Richardson was getting by just a little bit on ability alone. I think you got to mix the ability and the maturity and the leadership and the study and
In
the
the locker
hard
room, in
work. All
film
those things
room,
have to
stuff like
be
that. 100%. You're on it.
exactly, yeah, 100%. So I think that is definitely it's good to hear for me. It's a little comforting to know that those were the things that they're working on. And from Steichen's mouth, apparently he has made strides in that direction. So I think he took this very seriously, this opportunity. And
Yeah.
we can only hope so as Colts fans. We can only hope that he took it very seriously. But early signs indicate that AR is taking this very seriously.
Yeah. And shout out to, I don't know about you, shout out to the Colts reporters. I don't know how you feel on it, but they were nagging Steichen over and over and over again over the last 2 weeks, trying to get something
As
out
they
of him,
should.
as they
As they
should.
should.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
James Boyd, Jake Arthur. Jake Arthur. He's like the Locked On Colts guy, Locked On Colts podcast guy. James Boyd has been doing this for I think 2 years now. He was originally
Yep.
with Zach Kiefer. He's kicking ass. I know he came out with his own podcast. Congratulations to you. But they're really drilling down on him in some of these questions to try to get information out. But there's one thing, Logan, I want to talk to you about real quick. What Shane Steichen said. I think James Boyd asked this. He kept saying Steichen kept saying when AR was benched, Joe Flacco gives us the best chance to succeed. He puts us in the best position to succeed. And then James Boyd asked him, hey, now that AR is a starter, what happened to Joe Flacco being the best position to succeed for your team? And Shane Steichen said, whoever is at the helm puts us in the best position to succeed. So it's
It's
this
the
sudden
most coach
change.
speak answer of all time.
Yeah, these sudden changes, man. Like from what I feel, and we've talked about this on many episodes, this was not a Shane Steichen decision. I think we know that it was either a Jim Irsay or Chris Ballard, but I would put my money on Jim Irsay, even though I was saying Chris Ballard a week or two ago. This just seems like a total
Yeah.
Jim Irsay move to make a decision this quick, to listen to the audience, to listen to all of us fans that are just like, put AR out there, free AR5. God, season tickets approaching. I think this was a complete business
Yeah.
decision from Jim Irsay, like it or not.
And we didn't even mention, Addy, that on Monday, Steichen literally said that
Oh
Joe
my gosh,
Flacco
yes.
was the starting quarterback. We made an episode. We literally recorded an episode on Monday, fully thinking that we were going to have another week of Joe Flacco. And all of a sudden, on Wednesday, we hear that AR is the guy moving forward
I'm
for the
happy,
rest of
but
the season.
I couldn't
We're
have been
happy,
posting
but
any
it's
of the
like
goddamn clips. God damn it, Steichen. Like
Steichen, you are ruining the the
the
growth of
pod.
our podcast, and I'm going
Yes.
to need reparations.
Yes. 100%. Please. Call a game designed for
No,
AR
but
this
yeah,
week.
that's
That's the reparations.
yes, exactly. That's all we want. We just want you to unleash AR, and we will call it even. We won't even sue you or anything. Okay, I promise.
Nothing. Nothing. Won't talk bad on you ever
But
again,
yeah,
my king.
exactly. Yeah, and but that's the biggest shock I think to a lot of people is just the Indianapolis Colts once again went through a little saga here and were looked at across the league as a team of dysfunction, right? Even though yes, it's good news, AR is back. It's dysfunctional as hell, man. I mean, for to go from Monday to Wednesday and switch up completely out of nowhere is nothing other than dysfunction. You can't really call it anything other than dysfunction.
Yeah.
So I understand
100%
why a lot of
agree.
fans are looking towards that too.
Yeah, and speaking of dysfunction, Logan, let's talk about the matchup that the Colts got against a dysfunctional organization as well in the New York Jets. What was first slated to be a primetime Sunday
Great
night
segue.
football game Great segue. Sunday. Look how I did that, bro. That was awesome. That was awesome. Thank you for saying dysfunctional. We didn't even practice that, guys. That wasn't even practice. But talk about it. Sunday night football game. Two dysfunctional organizations now slated into the 1 p.m. slot. I'm excited mostly because this Anthony Richardson is going up against a pretty good pass defense that somehow forgets to tackle, but still a pretty good pass defense, and no one in primetime has to see it. I hope he balls the fuck out in his first game back, but I'm happy it's in that 1 p.m. slate because I just want Colts fans' eyes on it and red zone eyes on it rather than, the entire U.S. population and international population. So
It's a great point. Yeah. So I was going to ask you, AR's first game back, like you said, him balling out. Obviously, as Colts fans, we all hope that. I will say it's a tough task ahead, at least if we're talking about passing the football. We talked about that earlier, that before the pod, the Jets defense ranks second in the National Football League for yards allowed in the pass. So they are very stingy against the pass. Now they do have some holes in certain areas. Like for example, they're 25th, I believe, in run defense. Right.
yep,
So not great there.
134
I do
yards per
think that's
game.
an area that the Colts could, yeah, 134 yards a game allowed.
Yep.
So that's an area that they could expose them. But getting back to the AR dilemma, that's going to be a tough task. It's going to be a tough task for AR to come in, and I think Steichen's going to need to be very smart about how he calls this game. You don't want to throw Anthony Richardson in his first game back to the Wolves against the second ranked pass defense in the National Football League. That's not going to help
Yep.
that young man's confidence coming back the first game. So,
Yep.
what are your thoughts there? What are some areas that you see that the Colts might be able to take advantage of the Jets defensively, and then we can
Yeah.
kind of segue into the offensive side as well.
Yeah, no, 100%. I'm really excited about the fact that you mentioned, right, that the 25th ranked defense in terms of rushing, in terms of yards per allowed, they've allowed 134 rushing yards per game.
Yep.
What better time to call a right game for Anthony Richardson than right now? You have your running quarterback back.
Mm-hmm.
Jonathan Taylor is back and healthy. Jonathan Taylor hasn't scored a touchdown in the last 2 games. Jonathan Taylor's been averaging a little over 3.5 yards per carry with Joe Flacco. They can't get that shit rolling. He was averaging 5.2 yards per carry with Anthony Richardson, if not more. How pumped are we? Now, we know Anthony Richardson's back. We know JT's going to have a good game. Figure out a way to feast and destroy what the Jets are bad at. Come at them. Rushing attack. I want to see like a 60-40 rush-heavy attack game. I don't really care about passing. If Anthony Richardson is 10 of 20 or 11 of 22 with 200 yards passing and 1 touchdown in the air, so be it. I could care less. I just want to see a JT 120-plus yard masterclass. I don't want to see him get the ball 15 times in the first half and 5 times in the second half, especially against a team like this. Even if they come out strong on the defensive run side of the equation, keep pounding. Keep pounding. Find a way to get it to work because every other team has exploited this in terms of the Jets defense.
Mm-hmm.
They've exploited their rush defense. Now, real quick, I have a question for you because obviously Jets dysfunctional. They fired Robert Saleh. Who's their play caller? Getsy? Or no, who's this play caller? That got demoted. It's Aaron Rodgers' best friend.
Yeah,
Nathaniel
I know
Hackett.
you're talking
Nathaniel
about.
Hackett.
Yeah,
Yep.
Hackett. Yeah, he was the old Broncos head coach. Yeah.
Yep. So he was previous OC for the Packers, Broncos head coach. Now demoted OC for the Jets. They have that guy from the Titans now last year calling plays for him. I don't understand. This is my question for you. This offense, I don't understand. You have Aaron Rodgers. Your O-line is not great, but it's better than it was last year. You traded for Devontae Adams. You have Garrett Wilson. You have actually Alan Lazar's an IR now. You have Malachi Corley, I believe, that rookie. Gibson as well, who's a pretty good, wide receiver 3, wide receiver 4 there. And you've got Breece Hall and Braylon Allen. By the way, I wanted the Colts to draft Braylon Allen so bad. Behind Jonathan Taylor, 2 Wisconsin running backs. But why are they struggling? They have all these pieces. Is it because the O-line can't keep it together? Is it because Aaron Rodgers is 40 now and gets pissed off easily? Like, is it coaching? What is it, Logan? Because I have no idea.
I think I was going to bring that up to you too, so I'm glad you asked because I know you and I both predicted that the Jets were going to be basically a lock if Rodgers played all 17 games this season, and here we are, right? Like it's looking like, pending an injury, that Rodgers is going to play all 17 games, and the Jets are once again going to miss the playoffs. So it's kind of
Yeah.
wild. I do think that a lot of the blame needs to be placed on an aging Aaron Rodgers. I'll be honest, he hasn't been great. There's been tiny little flashes. Certain games, like I remember the Patriots against the Patriots earlier this year, the Jets had a good game. Rodgers had a good game, but other than that, man, there hasn't been a lot of good, a lot of vintage prime Aaron Rodgers, and it makes sense. He's 40 years old, right? So they took a gamble on that. And
Yeah.
then, yeah, definitely coaching is a huge aspect too. I mean, it's hard to get your locker room rallied when your coach gets fired mid-season. Like that's usually a sign of dysfunction, like you mentioned.
And a
So
coach that had their defense in the top 5 of every statistical category, and they're still a good defense, but they've definitely taken a step back with the
yeah,
interim head coach, who was, I believe, the
yep,
DC.
they're seventh right now overall, total defense as far as yards. So they're seventh overall, outside the
Took a little
top
bit of a step
five,
back.
but they're 26th on offense. Like that I don't think a lot of people thought would happen for this Jets team. They thought, hey, if this offense can even be a top 15 offense, then this Jets defense that could be top 5 could carry this team literally to the playoffs.
Yeah.
That is not what's happened at all. It's been struggle after struggle, and then even on top of that, there's been games where Brees Hall struggles too, and they're not
Yeah.
calling good play calls for him, and sort of similar to how Jonathan Taylor's getting treated for the Colts. Like Brees Hall is a bell cow back. You need to give the ball to that man 20 plus times a game.
Every
He's
other
an
play,
absolute stud.
at least.
Yeah. And then if not, you need to be throwing screen passes to him and little swing passes. So, yeah, I have no clue why this offense has not been explosive, but it
So
tells you the odds makers don't believe that this is going to be a very high scoring game, because the Colts Jets line right now is sitting right around like 43 points on most books. So they're
yeah,
expecting, one of these teams to probably score under 20 points for this game.
yeah. Jets right now
It's just
averaging
crazy.
17.7 points per game, or something like that.
Crazy.
The Colts with Joe Flacco
Yeah.
averaging like 18 versus without him averaging like 20. So you get a 2-point swing there with Anthony Richardson in his legs. I'm looking at the Jets games, Logan, and their first win was against a Titans team, which obviously isn't very good. Then they
Not
lost
good.
to a Broncos team, which is 5-4, but still it was a heavy rain game. Then they lost to the Patriots later in the season again after beating them 1-1 with them, and then they beat the Texans. And who am I missing? Yeah, Texans, Patriots. Once again, Texans though, bad O-line, no Nico Collins, no Stephon Diggs. So still, like, it was a struggling offense for the Texans,
Yeah.
but they found a way to make it work. So, they beat the Texans, they beat the Titans, and they beat the Patriots. So, not really like crazy wins. Like, if you think about it, it's like the Colts
Yeah.
beat we beat the Steelers.
Yeah.
They're 7-2 with a little bit of blend of Joe Flacco and Anthony Richardson in that game. So we've beaten teams like that, but
Yeah.
it seems like the Jets are still looking for that bona fide win. They made these trades because they think it's possible with Devontae Adams to take the next step. But hey, trading for a 31 or 32-year-old wide receiver maybe isn't always the best thing, even though he
It's
is
not
very
going to
good.
save your franchise. Yeah.
Exactly.
I will say this, man. The Jets, it's already basically over. Like if I was a Jets fan, I would have already hit the panic button obviously by now. But
Yeah.
I can surefire for 100% tell you, if the Jets lose this game against the Colts, they're favored. They're a 3.5 point favorite on a lot of books at home. They lose this game against the Colts, they're done. Yeah, I literally, I would straight up tank. I would
Yeah.
straight up tank if I was the Jets, and I know teams don't do that, right? So they're not gonna.
Yeah.
But
What a horrible
if
position to
I'm
be
a
in,
Jets
though.
fan, if I'm a Jets fan, I'm out. That's like where you're 3-8, 3-8. It's over.
How do you feel
So
about the
yeah,
Colts on the other
it's crazy.
side? You know, like we're 4-6 right now. Let's say we lose this game, you're 4-7. Respectfully, you got to win 6 in a row. Like you got to win out to get 10-7 to make the playoffs. Otherwise, there's no chance. And we have the Lions coming into town before a little bit of an easier schedule. Like this is a must win to get to 5-6. You get the Lions at home next week. 5-7 probably, and then win out 5 games
Yeah,
versus 6 or 7 is a little bit easier.
yeah.
Um,
I
it's
I
a
mean,
must
they've
win.
done it in the past. This Colts team, like I know under Frank
We were
Reich,
3-5
that was the
last year.
Colts MO. Yeah, that's what I was saying. I know under Frank Reich, too. Like the MO was always to start slow, and then they would really go on a run there to end the season, multiple seasons in a row. But
Yeah,
that was a different time. You're looking at Andrew Luck at quarterback, right? As opposed to a young AR who just is coming off of being benched. It's going to be it's going to be a tall task to expect Anthony Richardson to to come in and just like ball out right away. I'll be honest, I really do think it's more realistic for the Colts to be maybe like 7-10, I would say. I would
that's the
that's
thing though. It's
probably where I would put them, but
every single year you're excited, like playoffs, playoffs, playoffs. Now that Anthony Richardson's back, like I just want to see the kid develop. Like if we lose out
same,
every single
same,
game, but he plays well and he's
same.
getting better, consistently better every single game, like I could care less. This is like how I felt last year before he got
Agreed.
injured. It's like his rookie year. Like let him go through the ups and downs. Next year will be the year that hey, you got to make the playoffs or we're gonna have a conversation. Um, Obviously we don't want that to be the case, but I'm content with it.
Yeah, I agree. I couldn't agree more. It's like that's what this season is about at this point, and that's why I think I was so excited. Because with Joe Flacco, again, we were left wondering what is next, what is
What
after
is it?
this, what are we working towards, right? So now we know what
Yes.
we're working towards, which is great. So even if this season is a wash, even if they lose out the rest of their games, it's nice to know that there is something that we're working towards, which is definitely positive. What are
I'm
your
excited
what are your
though
thoughts
for
on? Oh, go ahead.
I was just saying, I'm excited for this defense. Like, obviously the Jets offense is struggling. I'm excited for this Colts defense. We talk about playing complementary football. It feels like the defense actually figured this shit out over the last 2 games. I hope they come
Mm-hmm.
back and continue that stretch because I think the offense is going to hopefully come back into some explosive plays and things of that nature to have some complementary football. Um, so I'd love if the defense continue to balls out. I hope it's not like a teeter totter where
Yeah,
it's like, oh, the offense is back
go
and the defense declines.
100%. And one thing that I was going to say, and then we'll get into some predictions here before we head out. But I was going to say Gus Bradley needs to dial up that blitz again because if you
Oh
look
yes,
at Aaron Rodgers this season, man, when he's uncomfortable and he's getting pressured, he's not that same guy that he was when he was 33, 34. Where he could scamper around and extend plays and stuff like that. That's just not in his bag anymore. And so send Kenny Moore on that corner blitz, man. Like pressure up the middle, use the stunts, right? Really like DeForest Buckner playing would be huge. I know he's on the injury report.
he
Hopefully he
played full
plays
today though,
because
which is good. Full
good,
participant.
good, very good. Yeah, that's very good news because I'm telling you, if the Colts can get pressure, get maybe Latu can, have a decent game too. Hopefully, like we need another breakout game from him.
He's
If they can
so
get
close
pressure
every
on Aaron
time.
Rodgers, hmm I think it's going to be an opportunity for the defense to come away with some turnovers. I
You're
really do.
right.
I think they can snag a couple from Rodgers, and that's going to be big time. So yeah, he has
40-year
struggled
old statue.
mightily against the blitz.
Oh
Hmm
yeah, 40-year-old statue coming off an Achilles injury. What do? You blitz the hell out of him against a struggling O line, the middle of the pack O
Yep.
line. I totally agree. Getting into score predictions. What are your thoughts? How do you think this is going to lean?
I lean with Vegas actually on this one. I do think it's going to be a little bit of a low scoring game. I'm going to go. I do think it's going to be close. I do think the Colts pull it off. I don't think this Jets team, like I said, I don't think they're good enough offensively to beat this Colts team right now. The Colts defense has been a little bit of a bright spot these past few weeks. And again, I think if Gus Bradley can keep his foot on the gas and really bring that blitz, I think the Colts bring it home 20-17. I think they get a
I hate you,
3-point
dude.
dub.
By the way, we did not talk about this before, by the way. This dude literally said
Is
the
that
exact
your
same score I
guess
was gonna
too?
say. Literally, literally. I
All
was
right,
gonna say
we
2017
gotta put a
because
bet on this. We gotta put a bet on this exact score, bro.
100%. I'm throwing it in DraftKings right after this. DraftKings, please sponsor us. 20 is like for me, it's like 20 is the average what the Colts have hit with Anthony Richardson. 17 is the average, kind of what the
Yep,
Jets have hit this year. So I was just like, hey,
yep.
20 to 17 sounds fair.
Just
I don't think
makes
there's gonna be a lot
sense.
of
Yeah,
it just makes sense. It really just makes
yeah.
sense. So I'm gonna piggyback off of Logan. And I don't know who thought of it first, but I'm gonna agree with him. 20 to 17. I think the Colts, you need to win this game. You want to make the playoffs, you want to make noise, you gotta start in MetLife Stadium this weekend.
Agreed. Well, there you have it, guys. So 2017. If it ends up being 2017, you better give us a follow. You better give us a
Oh yeah.
subscribe. You better shout us out to your friends because that would be some crazy stuff.
Voodoo
Hopefully someone
magic.
wins money on that.
Yeah.
But yeah, make sure you guys follow us on all of our socials. Just handle at Colts Unplugged Pod. And again, just as a quick reminder, we do have a new episode every Monday and every Thursday. So thank you guys so much for tuning in, and we will see you guys again on Monday. Go Colts.
Go Colts.